Thanks for joining us today. You could be anywhere, but we're sort of here doing the Level Up Live. So the whole concept is to give people bite-sized chunks of information in an industry that's filled with a lot of misinformation. We just want to give people the tools to be able to make well-informed decisions about their health and wellness, tools to their toolbox, so to speak. So today's one is all about infrared saunas, and really, I kind of just want to get a bit of an expansion on people's thinking about the results that they actually obtain. So let's think about training sessions. They're the catalyst for a lot of people for the physical results that they're after. Let's talk, fat loss or increasing somebody's lean body mass. So the training session is imperative to induce the physiological change that's needed. But rest, recovery, and restorative practices play an equally vital role in optimizing the physiological adaptations triggered by these exercise sessions, which I think a lot of people forget or neglect or both. So it's during periods of rest and recovery, the body actually shifts into a parasympathetic nervous system state, which fosters an environment conducive to muscle repair, growth, and overall recovery. So what is a parasympathetic nervous system state? Well, it's often referred to as your body's rest and digest state. It's one of the main divisions of your autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. So the ANS operates automatically, and it responds to internal and external stimulus to maintain homeostasis or balance, and it regulates your body's functions. It does this without conscious effort, and it regulates involuntary body functions in heart rate, digestion, breathing, some glandular activity, just to name a few. So it's during these periods of restorative rest that the body truly rebuilds and adapts. And this is what culminates in the tangible results that are sought after by individuals engaging in resistance training programs or in the gyms. So while the resistance training initiates the process for the physiological change, it's the integration of adequate rest and recovery practices that ultimately determines the extent of the transformative outcomes. So that's kind of where we want to touch on today. And this is where the incredible restorative tool that is infrared saunas comes into the equation. Today, we'll discuss the benefit of incorporating the infrared sauna into your wellness routine and how to implement them into your week. Let's have a look. We've got traditional methods, right? So we've got steam rooms, traditional saunas or Finnish saunas, and infrared. So let's quickly deep dive into what each one does and kind of how they differ. So steam rooms, they work by generating steam, as the name suggests, from heated water, and it's distributed into the enclosed space, typically from a steam generator, which heats water, and this produces the steam, causing heat and humidity. The moisture or the moist heat kind of penetrates your skin and into your respiratory system, and this causes your body to sweat, okay? Traditional or Finnish saunas, well, they heat the ambient air around you. So they offer a superficial heat, which then causes your body's core temperature to rise. And then consequentially of that, you start to sweat because of that. Infrared saunas, on the other hand, they operate at much lower temperatures. So, typically between 50 to sort of 80 degrees compared to your traditional sauna, which is normally 80 degrees and above. Despite this lower temperature, infrared actually produces a more intense sweat response, and it's due to its direct heating ability on your body's core body temperature. It actually penetrates your skin 2 to 3 centimeters, and it provides a level of warmth that the traditional superficial sauna heat can't match. And the way it does this is it's rebooting your body's cellular engine. So it activates 2 to 3 centimeters, and it actually activates something called your mitochondrial enzymes. So this mitochondrial and metabolic activation, is rebooting the body, and it increases your calorie expenditure, and it improves sort of fat metabolism, cellular repair, and regeneration. Additionally, this deep tissue penetration, helps target areas of localized inflammation, which promotes tissue healing and reduces pain and discomfort, which is amazing. One of the ways it does this is through a thing called releasing heat shock proteins. So when we're exposed to heat, cells produce these heat shock proteins. And what do? They act as molecular kind of chaperones, which really they just help aiding in the proper folding of your proteins, and they help prevent cellular damage. So they help kind of mop up all these metabolic byproducts. So they're enhancing cellular repair mechanisms, and they pretty much just promote overall resilience. So they're an amazing protein. One of the other things that we get is lots of detoxification, which is promoted a lot in any sort of heat therapy, but infrared specifically, because as we penetrate deep into the body, specifically your adipose tissue or your fat tissue, which is where a lot of your environmental toxins are stored. So environmental toxins, we're talking heavy metals, we're talking persistent sort of organic pollutants, we're talking pesticides, herbicides, and alcohol, just to name a few of the standard environmental toxins that we're exposed to. So it's this increased lipolysis or fat metabolization that promotes the sweat production, and it helps facilitate the elimination of these fat-soluble toxins from the body, which supports overall detoxification and helps reduce the body's toxic burden. Something that's incredible with infrared is that it actually separates fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble toxins, which then really helps the body eliminate these toxins through fat metabolism and sweat and whatnot, which is an incredible tool that you get from infrared saunas. Now, like, why do we even care about inflammation? Well, it's one of the breeding grounds for disease, which is not good, but it also really impedes fat loss and muscle gain, which is a real goal for most avid gym goers. It does this by disrupting metabolic processes, hindering nutrient utilization, and it promotes catabolic pathways that actually degrade your muscle tissue. So we promote it a lot here at Fifth Element. Reducing someone's inflammation actually causes a really large cascade in promoting an environment that's really conducive with promoting their goals, not taking away from them. One of the other key benefits is the cardiovasculatory and circulatory effects. So it's been shown across the board to improve cardiovascular function. It increases your heart rate, which is great. It dilates your blood vessels. It improves blood flow. So unlike traditional saunas, which uses, the vasodilation from the ambient temperature rise and the increase in core body temperature, infrared actually does it through stimulating like the blood flow at a tissue level, which is really important. So it enhances circulation, improves nutrient delivery through the tissues through that, which accelerates healing and obviously supports overall cardiovascular health. Another way that it does it is through actual the release of nitric oxide from, they're called endothelial cells, which is just the cells that line your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator, and it acts on a lot of the smooth muscles, which is going to help to promote relaxation in the body. This is one of the key mechanisms in promoting muscular recovery and repair. So intense exercise, particularly resistance training, induces little micro tears in muscle fibers. This leads to muscular damage and localized inflammation, which is important for the recovery process of building muscle tissue. Infrared promotes muscle recovery. So this increased repair and blood flow enhances nutrient delivery to these muscles and helps remove metabolic waste products, which helps you repair and recover better. So it accelerates that recovery process, which then helps support muscle growth and adaptation, which helps lead to either fat loss and fat reduction or increased lean body mass over time, which is a really integral tool. So it's like maximizing all your hard work in the gym. It has a real stress reduction and relaxation benefit. So infrared saunas promote relaxation through stress reduction, which is really important by activating, like we said earlier, the parasympathetic nervous system. So it helps modulate your hormonal levels through this. The gentle warmth induces calmness and normally tranquility for most people through the decrease of cortisol levels and increase in your endorphins. So your endorphins are just your body's natural painkillers and mood enhancers. This relaxation response can then help, alleviate all sorts of symptoms for people, anxiety, nervousness, but it does definitely help promote a better quality of sleep and overall well-being. So how does it promote this sleep? So in the afternoon, you get some people can get a second sort of cortisol kick or curve, or the cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, are supposed to peak sort of mid-morning, lunchtime at the max, and then sort of dwindle their way down for the afternoon. A lot of people are staying high or re-kicking in the afternoon just because their stress response is so high systemically. an afternoon sauna can then really decrease that stress response, which then decreases your cortisol curve from it, which then helps to promote more parasympathetic activation in your nervous system, which then helps you get into a better quality of sleep later in the day. So it's going to help improve sleep onset. And then in your sleep, it'll help you get into more deep layers of sleep and your REM sleep. And they are two really key indicators of sleep quality. And when you're doing that, you'll increase your likelihood of sleeping through the night and reducing wake ups in the night, which comes from multiple things, but one of being a really high cortisol level or really active sympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite to your parasympathetic nervous system. So throughout that sleep and recovery and reduction in cortisol, you get a hormonal optimization, which is really important. So it positively influences the hormones that we want for the goals that most people have. Things like increasing your growth hormone and testosterone, which play key roles in muscle growth and repair. Growth hormone promotes protein synthesis and stimulates the growth of lean muscle tissue, while testosterone supports protein synthesis and enhances muscular strength. So by optimizing these, you enhance your body's ability to build and maintain lean body mass. So in a nutshell, what are the benefits? Well, cellular activation and the metabolic benefits that come from this, and cellular repair due to the heat shock proteins. You've got detoxification of environmental toxins and the toxic load in your body, which is incredible, which reduces overall inflammation and leads to a cascade of positive health outcomes. You've got the increase in circulatory and cardiovascular health, which has a myriad effects, one of which being increased muscular repair and recovery. And you're going to get a much better stress response, which is going to be a massive promoter of better quality of sleep, which is one of the biggest restoration tools that we have, and an incredible tool in terms of hormonal optimization. Now, how do we implement all of this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. 2 a week would be great for most people. And I think most people can handle 2 up to 3. Not saying you can't do more than 3, but it really depends on the stress load that you've already got in your body. Because as good as the therapies are, whether it's cold therapy, whether it's hot therapy, there's still an added stressor to your body. So depending on how full your stress cup is, will really depend on how many of these extra restorative practices you can add into your program. Post-workout is one of the best times for all the avid tools that we just discussed in terms of increasing circulation and helping actually the recovery from your workout and actually utilizing and making the benefit of your workout more efficient. Or in the afternoon as a CNS reboot, which is going to be incredible for helping you increase your sleep quality and reduce your cortisol curve. Key, like something to be mindful of, duration in the infrared sauna is actually more important than just having a higher temperature. So a lot of people crank the temperature up into a shorter duration. You're better off sitting in there for the full 20 to 30 minutes at a lower temperature due to the way that infrared operates in the body. Post sauna, keep in mind, obviously go and have a shower, because you'll have the toxins that you've sweated out will be on your skin. So it's really imperative that you remove those toxins so you don't reabsorb them. And pre-sauna, 500 ml of water, preferably filtered water with electrolytes, and post-sauna, within 30 minutes, another 500 ml, preferably filtered with electrolytes, will really help you stay hydrated and not dehydrate through the sauna process. All right, team. So that's infrared saunas in a nutshell. The one thing I'd be sort of thinking about of who not to use saunas, well, anyone in pregnancy, anyone with any sort of heart conditions, and anybody with that overall stress load are 3 people that I would steer really clear of using infrared saunas as a restorative practice. I'd steer for more sort of yoga-based meditation, breathwork practices for those types of individuals. I'll open the floor. Does anybody have any questions on infrared saunas and how to implement them in their week? I think we're good. I can see E thinking. I know that Vince is driving, which is fine. Oh, he was walking.
No,
now.
no, I'm not driving back now.
Welcome back.
So I do have a question if no one else is going to jump in.
Go for it.
So clearly there is a limit to how many you should do. What would be, and I know obviously too much of a good thing is not a good thing. If you did one post train, so if you trained in the morning, did one post training, what sort of impact would doing one later that afternoon or that evening have?
It depends on someone's stress response, Vince. Like I think I wouldn't do it every day for every person. Normally with saunas, I start with one, see what the response is, start with a lower temperature, say sort of 45, 50 degrees, and see how that response is. And if you get a really big nervous system dump from it, which means you get that big cortisol drop and it actually depletes your energy systems, then we know that there's a lot of residual systemic stress going on in the body, and we may have to rethink our patterns. For somebody who is more practiced and can actually get through 2, potentially 3 a week, 2 in a day wouldn't stress me out too much in terms of the restorative benefit that somebody's going to get. But I base it on their level of stress in their cup more than I do about the frequency of what they're doing, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then I would get the data on how you feel throughout it, because the one in the morning will clearly promote recovery from your workout, but you would almost get a similar response from just coming back in the afternoon and doing it earlier in the afternoon than doing twice in one day. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, that's great. I had one more question if no one else is going to ask a question. The I don't know if you touched on this at all, because I tried to listen as much as I could, but using the sauna with the cold tub, I haven't actually done it myself, but I know going from the sauna to the cold tub back and forward a couple of times, people do that, and I think it's big in like the Nordic type practices.
Yeah. It depends on the purpose of what you're trying to do, which will determine kind of how you're using the restorative practices. So if you really just want a stress reduction and use it for a CNS reboot, I wouldn't add in the cold therapy at all. I just want to keep the heat therapy and what's happening with the residual heat and the metabolic activation and the decrease in the stress to then give my body a break, give my nervous system a break, and then enhance my sleep quality. But if I'm looking for more muscular recovery, then yeah, the extra cold therapy combined with it, whether it's before and then hot, or whether it's hot and then after, or whether it's cold, hot, and then cold again, that'll really increase. What it does is it's going to you're going to get the vasoconstriction from the cold, and you'll get some cold shock protein release, and then you'll get all the vasodilation and the increased circulatory benefits from the heat, and then you'll get another cold if you have cold again. And then if you let your body organically reheat, you're going to get lots and lots and lots of increased circulatory benefits and lots of nutrients delivered to muscles that really need them, which is kind of what they do in the athletic field so often.
All right, thanks.
With your training though, I would preface, if I wouldn't potentially do that in a hypertrophy setting, I would, anything hypertrophy, you especially with cold, you want that inflammation. So you can go into the sauna, which will help with it, but that constriction and inflammation that gets taken away in cold actually reduces the repair scenario that you're going to get comparatively. So you could do that on a hypertrophy day later in the day and it'll be fantastic, just not immediately after your workout. Beautiful. All right, team. There's nothing else. As always, thank you very much. I know you could be anywhere, but you've jumped in on a call to learn about something to do with your health. And I really hope that today's little deep dive into infrared sauna has opened a few doors into the benefits and how to utilize them and how to truly use them to actually get the most out of the results that you're trying to get in your health and wellness routine. So thank you very much and have a great afternoon.